you got to fight for your authenticity, because it's not about you. It's about who you're around and what you can affect around it. We're all in relation to each other, and you have to do your part. Folks get steered in different ways, and we have different motivations. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that we refuse to understand that everybody's going through something, right? Your shit looks different than my shit, but it's still shit. We're in this era where it's like, your shit don't stink, this shit's perfect.
Friendship could take on different meanings and different definitions at different times of your life. Which brings me to this month's guest, Alan Ace Eversley. Alan has been a guide for me in some sense into taking a step forward and leaning into my passions and what I truly love to do. He's an entrepreneur, he's a father, he's the host of AceMeetsWorld, and he is a great individual. So I hope you enjoy this episode number 467 with Alan Ace Eversley. Enjoy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ace Eversley from AceMeetsWorld, 43 Degree Films and Consulting, Liquor Made Special, and King's Landing Project. And I'm happy to be here with my guy Vinny on the Vinny Brusco Show.
And here we go. How long has it been?
Has been
high school.
Graduation. It has been.
Graduation.
That has to be it, because I was out. I left.
Did you leave right after high school?
Yeah.
To Boston?
No, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
I went to Central Connecticut State, and then I got an internship, then I got a job, and then I stayed out there, and then I was back and forth between Boston, New York, and all that, but I never moved back. And every time I came back, it was in and out. Some wild stuff.
Yeah. You're allowed to curse.
Yeah.
This isn't like some wild poopy.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're a dad. You caught yourself at the S.
Listen, I give my kids the freedom to express themselves, like when it's just us. So
that's a good space to be in. That's important. You have to create that space for your children to know that they could be human when it comes down. Like my daughter had a situation with a girl at school, and I could tell she was just pent up. And I was like, Emma, well, just say it. She's like, she looks in, she leans in, she goes, she's just so stupid. I was like, she is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let it out. You gotta let the kids let it out sometimes.
Yeah, expression, right? And you gotta, as a parent, you want to know what they know, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, come on now. It's strategy. I'm not trying to be their friend, but I need to know, because I found out who at school was teaching this, because I didn't teach you this.
Right.
But you got to be aware. Not everything is like an attack point or a moment of intervention. We just got to be aware and move with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poker face.
Yeah. That's a good point. You have to kind of realize what they do know. And that's a good strategy into their world of knowledge and who's saying what. And for me, I'm always expecting it to be worse. And it's so, from my experience, it's always very innocent like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm like, oh, she's like a fucking bitch right now? Like, that'd be wild. Like, this shit would be off the wall.
Bitch is running wild, man. So, whoa.
Like,
you had homework problems.
I thought you were upset about your Italian homework. This girl's a bitch. But it's always, in my experience thus far, thank God, it has been a very innocent thing. It's just, she's so stupid. I'm like, I get it. Yeah, right. She probably is stupid. You're probably right.
All right. And that's the word is just representation of how she feels.
Right.
That's how she feels.
Right.
Just take it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not and for them to talk about it and talk through it, it's, doesn't mean you can't be friends. It doesn't mean it's like, hey, what happened?
Right. It's always something.
What did the stupid one do?
So it's been 20 years? 20 years.
2002.
Right.
2002, man. But your energy it's the same.
So is yours.
Yeah, like the conversation we had, I was like stoked. I said, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the essence is there. The growth is inevitable. Right.
Right.
But
not for all.
Well, no. change is inevitable. Growth is intentional, right? I'm happy to have, discovered just in one conversation, oh, Vinny, oh my God, like the growth is right there.
Same. It was the same. And it's funny because it's been 20 years as we're learning this, right? But it feels like, I mean, we've obviously followed each other in social media, and there's been that kind of like, hey man, okay, how's everything? Okay, all those things. But we've had 2 conversations in 20 years. And I remember exactly where they were. I was at one previous job and then another previous job, but they were both, when I hung up the phone, I was like, oh, Alan's on the level.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what sparked the first one, but I vividly remember the second one because it was fairly recent. And you called me out of nowhere on like a Wednesday at like 11:30. And my instinct was, is this a butt dial?
Right.
I was like, what the fuck are you calling me?
Yeah.
And the message you delivered me was just so poignant and so on point and so clear. And I was like, oh, he's a messenger from the cosmos. And it's been 20 years in one conversation, but he's got something to tell me. And then we've always been, hey, let's do a podcast together. Let's come on your show, my show, and all that good stuff. But it's been crazy that it's been 20 something years, but I feel like the energy is actually stronger.
Yeah. Because the maturity, it's the maturity that there's so much for us to, catch up on. Right. Like, yeah, I'm here on the show, right? But I can't wait to cut up at dinner and just talk. Right. 2 people, and let's share energy. And I give. So I am the sum of my decisions, everything I've went through, and I have no choice but to be authentic in every conversation, and I enjoy when other people are authentic with me. And I used to, give everyone my attention. Now I just give the attention to people I want. This energy isn't for everybody.
Is that an intentional decision?
Correct. 100%. 100%.
What made you draw that line of demarcation? Like, this isn't for everybody?
Time. I can't stand like feeling like I'm giving my time to the wrong space. It bothers me. It's not money. Money is whatever. Time, I can't get that back. I hate when people misuse. And it's a lot of, there's a lot of confusion when you're wrapped up in ego, and pride. And when you've had like near-death experiences and certain experiences, all that shit gets snatched away from you. You start to see this shit differently. But it's when you come across people that don't understand that feeling, like, oh, you think you got like tomorrow, like, Yeah. So I thought about you. Something said, call him.
which is crazy.
And I don't,
it's not crazy, but
it's not crazy, but there's so many other people that could have came to my mind. Right. But it was you. Right. No agenda, call you. 2 hours later, we're like talking on the phone. Yeah. Still, right?
Talk about energetic frequencies and how we could, but the message, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about it, is that the message that you delivered was, you got this.
You got it.
You got this. And at that time, and still, I mean, obviously there's tons of imposter syndrome with anything that you do, any endeavor you're taking on. There's always tons of imposter syndrome. There's always self-doubt. There's always these waves that you get where you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
But, knowing that you've made that transition to living a more authentic life with like your career and the way you show up in the world, and to be that messenger of someone who's on the other side of that experience and be like, no, you got this, man.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't something that you're just kind of mucking around, but you need to lean in a bit more.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like man, you're a beautiful person, right? And you're friendly. You meet people, like, you build relationships.
Sure.
Right. So if you could do it for personal reasons, you could do it for business reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to jump out, you have to be clear on who you are and who you're not. And that who you're not is the most important part, because that yields relationships, right? But you got to be able to tell the universe and open it up. I need help. But so many people want to jump out. Oh, I got it. And I know this. I know. You keep telling the universe you know everything. Universe is going to do absolutely nothing for you. So the more you start becoming authentic in who you are and who you're not, then you open the door, for like partnerships, collaborations. So you don't have to be everything, but you have to be genuine. You have to be you and confident in that. Right. And that's why I was like, you got it. Professionally, you can learn all that shit.
Right.
You can learn all that shit. Yeah.
Well, it's there is a letting go process in being okay with not knowing things, but then also being open to learning things. Like my daughter, for example, she'll be like, whatever it is, jujitsu. And she's like, oh, I'm like, you are great at it, but you don't know it, like, or she'll get upset that she doesn't know something. And I'm like, but why would you know that? Like what entitlement do you have that you think you know these things?
Listen, I love where we are in this conversation already. If someone was to ask me what was the catalyst to all of this, it was, Alan, we're pregnant. Kids change everything. When you have like purpose like that, you have to like lean into and then parenting is frustrated.
Oh, there's nothing that will test you as a human being. Like there's nothing that I love more that I want to kick across a fucking football field like my kids.
Yo, I say that. Yeah.
There's tucking a child in and then them throwing a random elbow in your face. You're just like, I could fucking kill you right now with kisses.
It stretches you pause. It is something that pushes you, but in the midst of like all of it, I remember sitting at my computer, right? And I remember we had like the gate to block off my son from like
falling down flights of stairs,
the office space, right? Because I needed to get some work done. And he wanted to get at me. He wanted to be on my lap. And he was so persistent. So we're pushing, we're moving things, we're stacking things in front of it. There was nothing that was going to keep this kid from me. And I watched him and I go, that's the secret of success. I will honor my son 100%. He taught me how to be successful. You just don't stop. Sure enough, come on.
Right.
He did not know this, don't do that because you might hurt yourself. What the fuck is hurt yourself? He doesn't know the concept.
Right.
All he knows is I want this.
Right.
Even though I don't understand why you're trying to stop.
Right. Why are you stopping my love? Right.
Just who, and it's like, yo, just be genuine, be relentless, be unapologetic. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But you have to know what you want. For him, it's as simple as I want to get on Dada's lap.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. And I think so much of life is this full circle, right? It's like going from this childlike mentality, right? And being so open to receiving and being determined in what you want and your pursuits. And right, like the walking kid falls how many times before he learns to walk, right? But it's doesn't know that it's falling. It's just like, well, I have to do this thing, right? It's an evolutionary process that unfolds. And there is this deterministic approach to that, but it almost, you lose all of that, right? You lose that in your indoctrination into society and culture. And I see that a lot with my daughter at 8 years old. I see what influences her now, right? How kids at school now have a role and an effect on her psyche, right? Yeah. And you get to see that play out. So when you have a child, you get to watch your life previously unfold to where you are now. And it's such a crazy responsibility, I guess, for lack of a better term, to be like, point out the minds in the yard, you know what I mean? And help them the best you can. And again, of course, they're going to go through their own process and you're going to fuck them up some way, shape or form.
And that is ultimately the balance of a parent to let go. Because how many times were we told the same thing a million times? When did it click? Later.
Right.
So how dare I lose my shit?
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
Fuck yourself up. This is what it's about. Because I still got like scars, like, from when I was a kid. It's a reminder. Don't do that shit.
Right.
You need scars.
Yeah.
You need scars, kid.
So seeing your kid and your wife turn to you and saying, hey, we're pregnant. what was it a light bulb moment? Was it a slow unfolding process?
No, I've had, I started my first business in, I started my first, I was like 10, 11, like 10, 11 years ago. And so I've always had like one foot in and one foot out, like so many people in this country, like a lot of small businesses are like entrepreneurs, right? So, but I did that, but I knew where I wanted to go. When you're in this space, people always say, like, AC, why are you still here? You shouldn't be here. You're talented and you're not maximizing on your talent because you're here. You need to go somewhere and fail more, right? That's what my mentors were telling me. Like, you need to trust yourself more. I am not some genius, right, that woke up. I have mentors. I seek guidance like anyone else, and they're telling me how to get it. You just have to be, I don't want to say motivated, but the light switch has to happen, right? And it's like, I want to do this. Like, it tests your faith, it tests everything. And that's what it really was. It was like, God ain't never let me down this far.
Sure.
I've gotten to where I'm at this far, and I've had my fair share of bumps and bruises. I'm still alive. What else could happen?
Right.
What else could happen? Like, go for it. And then how dare I look my kid in the eye and tell him that bullshit? You could be whatever you want to be. And I ain't go for it. I tell you, I never understood it as a child. And I was like, come on now. And then it's like, what if that's where they want to go? I want to have answers, not only just answers, but I want to have resources. I want to have solutions. The problems are inevitable. The solutions are not. And, it was just on me to be a pioneer in my family and start doing things and move in a certain way that was just so genuine and not confined to like some systems and constructs. And I feel free. And then I discover there's so many fucking people like this.
Right.
Like, I ain't know, it's like I'm nothing special.
Right.
But what's special is this existence outside of what I knew to only be it. Good grades, good job, pay taxes, retire, die. No, live. You can live through all of it, but you have to understand who you are, who you're not, and your value in your place. And you have to be willing to fuck up enough to find it. If you find it early, kudos. Right. If not, keep trying.
I default to like this idea. Is that your brother?
It is my brother.
Is he here?
Son of a...
Hope you are enjoying the show. If you are, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're getting it. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. It is greatly appreciated. Before your brother rudely interrupted us, we were saying that the kind of the catalyst was the children and you becoming a father, and that, hey, we're having a child.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of that slow burning process of, I'm not special, but I'm special to this experience. What I get tied up in a lot, and I think probably most people do, is that relationship with yourself being half in and half out, like you spoke about, because we are indoctrinated into a system that's go to school, get a good job, retire, get your pen, all those things, and then die. And it takes like that leap of faith, right, to let go and step into that next version of yourself. And it could take, whether it be meditation. For me, it was a big part of it was sensory deprivation, depriving myself of everything to really get zeroed out. But were you doing anything special? Were you journaling? Were you meditating? Were you, did you climb up to the top of a mountain and sit full lotus and meditate? Was there anything you were doing that kind of helped harness that letting go process?
It's fear of taking my last breath, and I didn't do it. I didn't do it yet. Straight 100%.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do it. And my God, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have one, you have like a scare and this, that, and third. And then you start to, when you're growing up, it's like, you don't have this concept of like, what it is to be here and then not here. And then when you get older, you understand, like, you got your whole life ahead of you. And then you start, it could just be like one friend, go. But it's like, goddamn, like I'm 21, he's 21.
Sure.
He's not here. There's a lot of shit I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to do. Well, I'm going to do this next year. Shit like that bothers me, right? And so it's through that. It was like, oh, no, it's time, right? And then it was just circumstances lined up, but it's planning. So where people are hesitant, they want to do it, but it's like how to get there is where people get tripped up. And it's like, that's where like coaches are for, or plan. But you got to understand, like the best coaches don't call themselves coaches. Right?
Right.
That's why I said, I just got to be here in the room with you. Right. I seek experiences.
Yeah, same. I'm a very novelty experiential seeker.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy learning new things, figuring out new things. There's things I'm working on. And I literally was having this conversation with my wife last night. And I was like, I don't know how to do any of this shit.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of figuring it out.
Right.
Like I don't know how to get insurance on a business.
Right.
But I'm kind of figuring it out. I don't know how to do any of this, but I don't know how to get an LLC or an S Corp or all this, but I'm kind of figuring it out. And It feels good to have that ignorance filled, right? Yeah. That ignorance gets kind of filled with the knowledge of, and that only comes through experience. Because you can know on a multiple choice test the right answer and fill out C, right? But experientially, do you operate at that frequency that exudes that experience? That exudes that answer of C, let go and allow myself to be fully myself? Or are you just filling out on a bubble?
Now it's a light switch. Before it was momentum, right? So now with enough experience, like I shared the other day, I was just having like I swear to God, I was getting like punched in the face repeatedly with like negative thoughts. Repeatedly. Like worrying about things I literally don't have to worry about.
Right.
And in that moment, I started to like laugh and I let it go, because I've been down way too many times I really know what down feels like. And I've messed up and failed enough to know like what that really feels like. But for some reason, I woke up with that feeling. But I was just like, tomorrow's Tuesday. I'm on my feet, as well as, as long as I'm awake, I got a chance. And I was like, let go of the fear. And I started laughing. I started calling myself a pussy. All of it.
Hey, David Goggins?
Yeah, I kid you not. I was pacing my kitchen, talking to myself. And then I started laughing. I was like, like, come on, you're being ridiculous and you're wasting time. You have people to call, you have things to do, and you're over here like shit in the bed and then rolling. Like, and the moment I let go, started laughing, the phone started ringing. The energy I allowed myself and the space I allowed myself to be in, it was like everything my clients needed. Now imagine if the phone started ringing and I was still in the pitch about nothing.
Right.
It's you have it.
Right.
You have it. By the end of the day, if you're talking business, as all you need to do is be a conduit of solutions. Right. Like I was telling you the other day, I was like, I could open up a plumbing business. Do I need to know shit about plumbing? No. I just need to know 3 good plumbers.
Right.
Right. So,
because I'm not one of them.
Right.
As I it's what you say, as I cracked my sink pipe in my kitchen because we had a clog, I was like, I got this, right? But I knew going, I was like, this is not my, but I figured it was an easy, but there comes a point where you learn, and I learned this in The War of Art. Pros hire pros, Stephen Pressfield.
The War of Art.
The War of Art.
Art of War.
Not the Art of War, the War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. He talks about pros hire pros. And very early on in my life, even like in the house stuff, I was like, I could do this, put up a pool. I could put up a pool, and it cost me more time, effort, and energy to try to do that than me just paying the $500 for the guy to come and put up the pool, right? Where I was like, and it wasn't being cheap about it. I was like, all right, I could kind of figure this out. And there's this bravado, especially with men. There's this like egoic approach to things where it's like, I need to figure out how to put up the pool. I'm going to level the ground.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, when the pool's lopsided and I've spent more water, more money on the water going in and out of the pool, I'm like, fuck this. Just pay for the guy to come and do it.
You've just disrespected your own time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think for me, it's time to let go of the yard work. I fucking landscaper. I will, you know what I mean? Like,
listen, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's all about time, but it is trust, it is relationships, and you want to honor these relationships. You go through your ups and downs to become experienced enough to identify the pros. Now build a partnership, put the pros in place.
Right.
I'm putting you in position to make money, feed your family, do what you say you wanted to do.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guarantee you the business.
Right.
Move forward. But it's time. I can only speak from my own passion, but fuck that job.
Right.
I thought I had a career until I was shown what my life could be. Right. I called it a career. I was climbing the ladder. I liked my job. I liked where I was. But it was, that corporate system was telling me what to do with my time. But I'm like, yo, if you're paying me this much for a finite amount of my time and a finite amount of my talent, now imagine if what I would do. I'm not a lazy person, right? So imagine if I created my own strategy, created my own network, did everything I was doing for them, but for me and my guys, my people.
Right.
Without that construct of time. Nah, I got it. Once I did the calculations, the numbers, every time I went back to the numbers, I said, with more time, I can make this. And with this, I can have these experiences. It all goes back to achieving human experiences. I'm trying to rack these bitches up with Pokemon cards. Like, you know what I mean? So if I gotta fucking drive 3 hours to talk to Vinny, I need this experience because we've been talking about it way too long. I don't give a fuck.
20 years, apparently.
You know what
20 years. Right.
So my mentor once told me that is what's going to set you apart. Everyone is not willing to go fight for what they want. People talk like they do, but he said, look around. We walked through, I'm not going to say where I worked.
Sure.
We walked through the building and he said, all of these people, like, they hate change. They talk about progress and but they're confining it within this workspace and they're making excuses every day. And I said, oh, now how am I going to show up every day and you looking in my eyes and you just said that shit? Thank you, brother. I'm out. And when I quit, he said, I knew you was going to do that.
Well, you just set the table for you. Of course he knew you were going to do it.
Yeah, but he
just told you, told you to do it.
No, but how many times, he's not only my mentor, how many times has he given that speech and that same person? He walked me around to the same people he gave that same speech to.
And they're just sitting there.
Would you think there's no other way? Do the statistics. It was like, what, the USA, we're made up of 89% small businesses. Someone's got to start somewhere. There's people that come from other countries. They don't even speak this language. I got a college degree. I can't do this shit.
Right.
You're going to fuck up in life. There's no perfect person. Therefore, there's no perfect situation, anything. If you stop chasing perfection, you'll be able to do more, be more for yourself and other people. Stop holding yourself to some standard and just exist. You know? But it's like, people got a problem with that. Right. People just can't sit still.
Well, that's the thing. People, and that's one of my favorite quotes. All humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
Boom.
Right. And that is the thing. People can't sit still. Like go to a line of a deli or wherever you go. Right. And just look around. I do this all the time. And I don't have my phone out. I'm like, just don't take out your phone and just observe. and everybody just has to be distracted.
Yeah.
But they're really just distracting themselves from themselves. They think they're engaging in something. They think they're a part of something. They think that they're making progress in something. But reality is they're looking for a distraction from their own mind.
Yeah.
They're looking for a way to escape the reality that they're living in here, not out here. Because I'm not saying this isn't reality, but this is a version of reality that we're interfacing with, right? But they're escaping the reality that's behind their eyes because they can't just sit still. Yeah. And one of the most, for me, a catalyst for me was starting to meditate, going into sensory deprivation, realizing that I am not my thoughts. Like I could observe my thoughts. I could be the viewer of my thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I am just merely watching them. And I could choose which ones I want to lean into, and I could choose which ones I don't want to lean into. Same way you were storming around your kitchen, and you do that enough times and that snowballs, that becomes your personality, that becomes your identity. Then you start saying, well, I'm just that type of person. Yeah. And now you're speaking it out into the world. And now you wear that as a badge of honor, right? Rather than just a personality trait or something you could modify, but it becomes who you are. Yeah. And it does, for me, it started with being able to sit quietly alone in a room by myself and just letting it all go, letting all the thoughts, good, bad, and different, just let it all. Yep. And it was like a Rubik's Cube. I remember watching just and just flipping and going and flipping and going.
Right.
And I have none of it figured out, but I'm willing to sit and flick that Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. I mean, look where we're at.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And there's so much intentionality. I'm surrounded by it.
Right.
You know, just keep it. Just don't ever stop.
And that's the thing. I don't think I won't. Like it's like at this point,
it feeds you.
It's just what I do.
Right.
It's just a part of what I do.
But were you saying that in the beginning? Because it was again, it's an evolutionary process, right? Like even this room or this pod shed started with just like a stand-up little fucking book thing. And then I was like, oh, I had the couch. Like, I remember when I first had this shed, I was like, I want to make it something. I knew I wanted to make it, but what was that something? And then it slowly over time, then I was like, all right, I'll add this table. Okay, I'll add that thing. And then when people come here, they're like, oh, I'm like, this is being inside my mind. Right.
This is what it's like inside my mind. Welcome.
Right. And that is the same thing with building a business.
Right.
You just have to understand you're not getting this
right
day one.
Right. Right.
If you could just let go of that expectation of some standard, it's going to be beautiful. And after a while, you are this person effortlessly.
Right.
But you got to get the reps in.
Right. But then you go into any format of social media and all these other comparison, and that's the other quote behind you, comparison is the thief of joy, right? Yeah. You get into that narrative. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I would think most people get into that mindset and get into this doom scrolling, right? Yeah. And who's doing this and who's doing that. And then you fall into that trap, right? So your mind is like this catacomb of nuance, and you could open up any door and just go right down this rabbit hole of thought. That's just the way my brain works.
And that's true, right? But the only thing is you can't care about it.
Right.
Right? Like, to me, jumping on social media is like watching TV. I turn it on, I turn it off.
Right.
Right. And I'm on it because I have to, my clients, right? Other than that, I hate it. I was the most happiest the 8 months I jumped off everything. And I dreaded the fact I had to open up an account. And now I just fuck around here and there. You see me.
Yeah.
People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, whatever I want. Yeah. I don't take this seriously.
There isn't a rhyme or reason to your social media. Sometimes I'll look at him like, what does he do? Like, is he like, I'm like, what is this the pot? Is this? But I love it because it's so authentically you, right? It shows up as you. It is what the fuck it is. You're not trying to hack an algorithm. You're not trying to figure it the fuck out, but it's so still authentically you. Right. And that's what comes across. Right. It's not perfectly curated. It's not a fucking beautiful grid. It's just so perfectly you, which is so in its own right is a message, right? In its own viewing of your page, you get a message of who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah, exactly. And it's as random as I want it to be. Right. And I don't need someone to know me for one thing, because in one conversation, you're going to figure out, holy shit, there's layers. I shouldn't have said hi to this guy.
Right.
Nah, I have
or I'm happy I did.
Or I'm happy I did. A lot of people, like, when they meet like this energy, they start reflecting like, I have work to do, right? Imagine you thinking you're complete or you've gotten to where you are comfortable and complacent, and then you meet an energy that goes, God damn it, I got more work to do. It's frustrating for people sometimes.
When you say work to do, you mean work as in entrepreneurship, work as in
yourself.
energetic? Yeah.
On yourself.
Yeah.
Listen, I move with the absolute understanding that you know who you are. Be like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We're not playing these games. I'm talking to soul here. You know who you are.
Right.
I'm not talking about the lies. I'm not talking about anything. I don't give a fuck about all of that on top. So that's all I'm talking to. And I'm showing I'm vulnerable every time. Right. And someone who is not and uncomfortable in their own skin, they're going to feel uncomfortable about that. But that's the point. But when you become this person that who you are, you're allowing other people the permission to do the same.
Sure. Hey guys, just want to take a quick break from the podcast to talk about something I'm super passionate about, and that is men's mental health. For those of you who may not know, I am a certified life coach, but I prefer the term journeyman for hire. And 4 years ago, I started the Council of Dudes, a men's group that has monthly meetings to lean on each other, to have open and honest conversations, to build community. So if you're a guy and you're looking to find like-minded individuals to help you see your blind spots and point out some insights and perspectives they may have in their own life, head on over to vinnybrusco.com, click the Council of Dudes banner, and sign up and join the council.
I am only who I am because I lean into uncomfortable moments.
Sure.
And those uncomfortable moments came with conversations with people that made me challenge myself. And you got to thank your lucky stars for every uncomfortable moment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because that's the carving. You think about like someone being molded or a work of art being carved into a masterpiece. It's still carving. It's still molding. It's still massaging. It's uncomfortable. If you don't do that, then you know what I mean? And for folks who've leaned into that process, we recognize that. And if I just say, hey, yo, you really need to just do this. I don't know why the hell I called you, but you need to hear this. All right, goodbye now. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
Right.
What brought me the most joy, it wasn't what I was saying. It was the fact that you understood everything I was saying. Because that gave me I was like, I don't know where he is in his transition, but he understands he's greater than where he is. And I'm fine with that.
Right.
Now, through our engagement is like who I am and how I live and move. If we're in relation to each other, I pray that rubs up off you and then you're able to go, right? Because the only reason why I jumped is because I put myself in a place where I was just surrounded by people who were now living and moving the way I wanted to.
Sure.
So it just rubbed off.
Right.
You know, but you have to put yourself in that place. I don't just show up to work every day and then go home and no, it's like if I put 8 hours here, I'm putting like 10 hours on my own shit. If that means driving somewhere, like when I started Liquor Made Special, I'd be in New Jersey, I'd be in New York, and I'd have to be in the office 8 a.m. in Connecticut.
Right.
Like, but where I have to go to create these experiences for me to see what I need to see. You can't see the battlefield unless you're on the battlefield.
Right.
Or you can't see it, it's like
Well, you could see it from the ivory tower, right?
There we go.
But that's a huge, and I think that's a big problem with a lot of businesses. And maybe you're seeing a little bit of a transition with that, with like cultural awareness, right, of a business. But that's a big part of the operating system that's in place that I think so many people get frustrated with, is that it's so easy from the high seats or from courtside or from the ivory tower to be that Monday morning quarterback, to have that input, to have that perspective on things. But when you're on the front lines, when you are working the job, when you are putting the hours, and you're depriving your family of your time, your effort, your energy, who and what you are, and you're really depriving yourself of all that,
Right.
when you're not seen or heard at a job, that's where people start to really, I would hope, really start to wake up to like, what the fuck am I doing? And that was, for my own personal journey, it was a bit of that where I was like, what am I doing? Is this all I do? And a good litmus test for me, and me and Pete were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, with any pursuit, is if I don't achieve mastery at this, if I don't become, let's just take jiu-jitsu, for example.
Yeah.
If I don't become a black belt, would I still do this? If this podcast isn't Joe Rogan,
right,
do I still do it?
Right.
And if the answer is yes to that, you're good.
Right.
If the answer is no, if you look at your boss or you look at the people ahead of you and go, oh, I don't want to be that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Then you have to find an exit strategy. And maybe it's not just jumping off. Maybe it is just the slow on ramp or the slow off ramp at the next exit. Or maybe it's 10 exits.
Yeah.
But you need to start looking at your exit strategies and planning accordingly.
Right. And then it's going to be that one life moment that goes, poof, all right, I'm out.
And that was the kids.
That was the kids with the kick in the nuts saying, all right, get out. And I remember that very day, someone was trying to put me in charge of some big initiative. And the whole time I'm just like, oh, these motherfuckers don't even know I'm quitting on all y'all. Like,
so wait, you had the kid, your wife told you were having a kid and then you quit?
No, I quit. I finally quit. No. When she said I'm pregnant is when I knew I was going to quit.
That's even crazier to the right. That sentence, that's crazier because like, well, now I need to really hunker down and focus on the comfort and the consistent paycheck and all of the things that I know are going to be there at the end of the week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. I need to lean into that especially when you're having a child.
Yeah, but all that is fear,
right?
Yo, and anybody that's moving on this wavelength that could like relate to what I'm saying, you got to be fucking crazy. You got to be crazy. I'm not even saying like sane. I'm not. Yeah, when I actually quit, pandemic, baby number 2, house hunting.
Wow. A perfect storm
of don't you motherfucking do it. And in that, I said, hey, honey, this is what I am making now based on how much time I'm allocating to this. This is what this is going to look like.
Did you have like a PowerPoint presentation?
Damn near.
We're like,
yeah.
Okay, and slide 2.
Wait.
Slide 3.
And hold on, something must be wrong with my wire.
Something's loose.
Something's loose.
Did you turn on the Wi-Fi?
But listen,
Wi-Fi's a little wonky.
This is why you have to be dedicated to like who you are, bar none, because it will shine through, right? And my actions showed like, oh, this motherfucker's not stopping, right? So I've always been walking in this direction. If you knew me, you knew me, right?
Well, and that takes me back to who I knew in high school, right? Who is a version of this that it's really is.
It's the same dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Doing WWE impressions in the fucking parking lot for quarters. I'm telling you. If you can be a fucking good person and someone wants to be around you,
that's hilarious.
On top of the fact that you actually have value and resources, why the fuck wouldn't I?
Right.
What world that I was shown looking back on my life ever showed I can't get along with everybody?
Well, that's the thing.
Even Jeff.
Right.
And that was my guy. But there's I love you, Jeff. I don't know if you follow Vinny, but everybody just walked by him. And I'm like, hey, man, you're my buddy.
You'd be great. Me and my wife still watch Survivor. Like we're 58-year-old, or probably older, 80-year-old yentas. But you'd be great on Survivor.
Right.
Because you are very personable. And that was the thing, I think, about both of our circles.
Until I stubbed my toe.
No, well, that's all right. We both our circles that we, overlapped. It was like, I don't think we hung out that much in high school, like a few times,
right.
But there was always this authentic energy that was, and we didn't even know, like, and I thought about this actually today. I was like, who knew 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You meet some, I think we actually spoke about this when you called me that day. Who knew you meet somebody and the pathway that is being carved out without you even knowing that 20 years later, 2 phone conversations and a hell of a lot of DMs, that we'd be sitting here having this conversation. And it's like, if you would have rewound 20 years ago and say, hey, by the way, guys, people are like, what the
You're
fuck?
going to mean a lot to each other before it's all over.
Yeah, fuck. All right. Whatever.
Yeah.
And it is like a wild, it's just a wild cerebral experience. And you're like, holy shit.
Right. And okay. Right. There's some people that are scared of what you just said. And there's others that go, that's beautiful. Right. And for me, it's like, all right, what am I to question anything ever again?
Yeah.
Right. That's why they say you have to be kind to everyone. You have to respect everyone. Right. And it's like, it's just be mindful of the human you're being. You know what I mean? And I think it's almost that simple. And, you know, this construct we live in makes it that hard. Right. But when you get someone one-to-one, that's why I say I'm talking to your soul.
Right.
Right. And we're going to connect every time. You know, you're never going to catch me bragging about things that I do. It's like, we don't connect like that, but we connect like on like this real basic level. And as long as you can relate to that, speak to that, you got somebody, you know?
Well, I think that roots back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier with the employer and even children, right? Like I was reading Dale Carnegie's book, Win Friends and Influence People. And he talks about the number one innate human need is to be seen, right? Is to be seen for who and what you are, right? Yeah. And whether that be as an employer or as a parent or as a spouse or as a friend, it's our humanistic duty to see yourself in other people, right? But you can only see yourself if you recognize that, right? Like we can only have this conversation if we have to be on the same level,
right? But
we need to be ebbing and flowing with each other, right? So unless you step onto that platform and are willing to go on that ride, you're not able to have a conversation in a comfortable space, right, with someone on a real authentic way. Right. And there's always an opportunity to have it with someone because they'll let you in, right? There's always going to be that little pinhole that they let you in, and then you have to show up authentically. Yeah. You know, I'll have conversations with some of the sales guys I have, and I know they're holding back something, and it's not even about work. I'm like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, verbal diarrhea. And it's like, yeah, cool. Tell me about it. Yeah. I'm not judging you. Right. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to be here for you. That's it. Right. And but that's a learning process of yourself.
Truth. And in business, it's like I need to communicate as effectively as possible. I need all this shit out the way. I'm not going to judge you. I really don't even give two shits. But it's about the end product. We could talk about the other stuff over like fish tacos. I don't know. Like,
love fish tacos.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even eat fish. But
you don't eat fish?
No.
How can you go for sushi if you don't eat fish?
No. It's more. Listen, we're good. We're good.
I know we're good. I'm just saying. I'm like, hey,
sushi, I got my EpiPen in the car.
You're gonna fucking have a heart attack? I'm gonna kill you.
No. I know what I'm gonna get. I know what I'm gonna get. I'm good.
They have hibachi.
We could talk about it more in.
All right. All right.
But I'm just saying.
You're getting hibachi. Right. That's fine.
No, I'm drop like 80 on sushi. All right. Right? And you're gonna have to deal with that.
I'm fine with it.
It's a human experience. Don't judge me.
I'm not judging you. Judge me. I don't want you to die.
All right. You know, I got my brother here.
All right, it's fine.
Now, but you know, I gotta say, you gotta fight for your authenticity because it's not about you. It's about who you're around and what you can affect around it. We're all in relation to each other, right? And you have to do your part. You know, and I understand when folks get steered in different ways and we have different motivations. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that we refuse to understand that everybody's going through something, right? Your shit looks different than my shit, but it's still shit. Right. And it's like we're in this era where it's like, your shit don't stink. This shit's perfect. Like, it's wild. You ever been on that Face app?
No.
Oh my God, it is the devil. It is the devil of technology. People can look however they want. I had like an argument with somebody because they used it and they were like, well, that's how I see myself. I'm like, let me tell you the truth, you know? But it was an argument. And it was like, yo, this should have been like 2-3 seconds. Oh, that's cool. It's not what you look like, but it was nice. Oh, yeah, thank you. Why are we still talking about this? You're like, what's wrong here? But there's so many people.
There's a disconnection.
But a lot of people are disconnected. That's my point. And it's not about just what they look like physically.
Sure.
It's like, yo, are you really this person? It's like, if you are, show me that you did the work. You don't even have to show me. I've done the work. And I can recognize if you did the work. You didn't do the work. But there's a lot of effort in showing that you did the work when you did it. So what the fuck am I looking at right now? And that is Instagram. And that is Facebook. And that is now like life. I don't know who the fuck you are. So I have to be 100% me to cut to the chase, because you're either going to react to me this way or that way. Other than that, I got the data. I got the data I needed. You're for me or you're not. I can only achieve that if I cut through the bullshit and I'm myself and I'm intentful and you know who I am and why I'm here from the jump. And I'm staring you in your face and you're going to drive me to go left, right. It doesn't fucking matter. You have an agenda. I have my own. Let's play.
Right.
But if we are partners, we need to sit down and really like talk this out. How are we going to move together? We're a team.
Right.
But, so it's like, but it all starts with authenticity, cutting through the bullshit, being communicative, clear. And I think you get the best results. But today's society, you can't just say what you want because there's repercussions.
Well, think about the era we grew up in.
Yeah.
Right. Just think about like the Attitude Era. As we look at a picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin clotheslining mankind, the attitude, we are a result of that time, right? We are a clear cut result of that time. And I feel as though that pocket of existence that we experience might be the last of that. It might be the last of, I hope it's not, right? But it might be the last of showing up in that way. Like just everything that was around it, wrestling at the time. We were in high school walking around going, telling people to suck it. I mean, that doesn't exist anymore.
So all right. I almost subscribed to that, right?
Right.
But then South Park is still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got South Park. You got Big Mouth on Netflix. I
don't watch shit. I watch Survivor and The Amazing Race. All these shows, like an old Yenta.
Right. The Boys, Gen V.
True.
It's like all these platforms and shows now. It's like it's of this era. It's of this energy. It's of this understanding. And it's like, they touch on everything. Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians of all time, he just dropped Old Dads on Netflix, and it is amazing because it was so vulnerable and open, and it was so him. It was so angry. It's hilarious. But all those things people are afraid to talk about, he just like beautifully just displayed it in this cinema project. And I said, yo, this is an amazing movie and the world is ready for it. Like, we're not, that's just.
I think the world needs it. I think the world needs it.
It didn't go anywhere. That's my whole thing.
Right.
It didn't go anywhere. I don't believe it went anywhere. I think it was like campaigns and agendas and movement and,
sure.
That's that. And that is with money and resources that can be put to the forefront, and then, social change, blah, blah, blah. But by the end of the day, it's about human. It's about if you soul to soul, this doesn't feel right. You're sitting at work. You're like, this can't be my job. This can't be my life. But 40 hours a week, here the fuck you are,
Right.
And it's like, yo, how many times like, yo, you're real fucking cocky thinking you got tomorrow, yo.
Right.
And that's the part that like gets frustrating. If you knew you had a week, would you live any different?
Right.
You're so fucking like conditioned. And I remember I had an angry feeling when I started to feel like, oh my God, like I'm success and it's growth. And I'm like, oh, I'm like I'm back up. Like, I took a step down, but I got right back on my feet way faster. And everything someone said, oh, you don't do this when you're in this situation. I fucked around and did it unplanned. And here I am. I still did everything I set out to do, even though folks said, oh, because of this, and that, you wouldn't. So I'm like, what the fuck are people talking about anyway? You know, so.
Yeah, you have to realize that. And I had this realization actually one time, and I try to lean into it. People don't know shit.
People don't know shit.
People are really, really pretending to know shit. Right. And then yes, there's some experience, and yes, there's some, but that's the only way you know anything.
Right.
It's regurgitated experience, whether it be your experience or your perceived experience or experience that you witnessed or watched. It's all regurgitated.
So that is like my social transition, right? Going from people like that to people who I've shifted from being around people who read the book to the people who write the book. So these folks aren't regurgitating shit.
Right.
And they're very successful because it's experience.
Right.
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 And it's like, you almost start to learn how to manipulate those who think like that.
Right.
The system and the construct was built for a reason.
Right.
You know, and there's benefit there because by the end of the day, time, right? And this is how you perceive time. This is how I perceive time. And one of us is, you know, living the life the other person wants. But the thing is I'm only here to show you, it's like, motherfucker, come on. There's a whole boatload of us over here. Let's get the fuck out of here, right?
Right.
And it's so frustrating to be around people, and it's like, yeah, no, go ahead. I'll be there. I'll do it next year. Next thing you know, yeah, I don't move like that, bro. Like, I'm ready now. I'm gone now.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't want that. I'm trying to, but it's frustrating. But by the end of the day, you got a family. You got goals, you got things you want to achieve, things you want to experience, and you ain't got time to be going back and forth with everybody. So you just go. You started discovering new people that have new opportunities, new conversations, new life forms. It's like, man, this is what it's about. But you would never, like, oh my God, the things that I love about my life now, I would never even, I wouldn't know anything about it if I just stayed at the job.
Right.
It wasn't a bad job. It just wasn't what I was supposed to do. And for somebody who's really vested in their career and job, I'm not saying quit. But if that shit ain't for you and you really know it, then you owe it to yourself and your existence to go do something with that. Not necessarily for you, but do it and tell the story. If you have kids, tell the story. Hove went through that. So you ain't have to go through that. You know what I mean? You got to be Hove. You got to, like the Dave Chappelle, like throw yourself on a sword and, yank the whole system down and be a pioneer. Why not? And then the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. I'm a movie guy, right? And he's about to go off to war and the boy goes, are you scared? And, and he was like, no, it's like, this is who I am. And he was like, what are you scared of? Like, are you scared of death? And like, yeah. And it's like, well, that's why no one would know your name. Like, you had to be great at what? And the thing is, right. We all know. We all know. So that is it. We all start out here in some way, but once you're here, you don't go back, and it's your job to just. I was having this conversation with my daughter because she's, again, at that age where culture and life and starts to seep in, right? Yeah. Just natural. It's a natural progression. And she's talking about, I want to do this. And she said she wants to be an actress or she wants to be a singer one day. And she's like, well, people would, think like, oh, well, why would Emma be a singer? And why, so you start to see it. I said, you are an artistic, creative person. Right. And as long as you follow that, right? As long as you follow that, it may not be an actress. It may not be a singer. It may. Right. No idea. I don't know. Right. But as long as you follow that
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
The rest of it, it's gonna play out in different ways.
Life is going to happen regardless. Wednesday comes after Tuesday.
Right. I had a mentor who's been on the podcast, John Jacob Mubarak, and he had a mentor, and he said the sun has risen, all is in order. That's it.
Right.
It really, and he'll text me randomly, and I'll text him like, sun has risen, all is in order.
Yeah.
The rest is just like your own perspective of reality and how you're going to interface with, the day and all of these things. But sun's up. You may not see it.
Right.
But it's there.
Right.
And everything else is in order.
Right.
But we live on these Google Street views, and we so often are just so focused on our lives and what's going on in our world that we don't open up. We don't open up ourselves, or we don't open up to the world to allow ourselves to have that bigger view, to have that bigger perspective of life, and to realize, the soul within somebody else, or God recognizes God, right? The ability to connect with someone on this deeper level. And again, we have a culture that beats that out of you. We have, if you want to believe in infrastructure, that beats that out of you, whether it be intentional or just circumstance, it's not cultivated.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get indoctrinated into a system that removes that purity out of you. And that just might be life. That might just be the journey of life, to travel back to who you were, right? The alchemist, to go back to where you started, to be who you are and rediscover who you're meant to be the entire time. There you go.
Right there.
There you go.
Maktub, my friend.
Right.
The Alchemist. It changed everything. I read it. I started reading it on a Wednesday, finished it on Thursday, put my 2 weeks on Monday.
Woo!
That shit touched me, bro. You just said it. How many people are willing to do that? If you're not, that's cool. But if you are, do it.
Hello, friends. How are you? Just want to take a quick, brief break from the podcast, talk about a piece of gear that I've been rocking nonstop, and that's Wowie shorts. WowieLife.com, the Nomad 2.0s. They are super diverse. They're super comfortable. They've got this unique little stylish trim on the pocket, different on each color. I got them in green. I got them in blue. The black are in the laundry. They come with a lining, so you don't have to waste a pair of underwear, which is huge. I wear them to jiu-jitsu. I wear them on the trail. I wear them to the beach. I wear them out to dinner. They're super diverse. They're super comfortable. They're family-owned, which is always awesome. And they just released a new pair of sweatpants called the Ramblers and the Flow, which they are so dope. I can't get enough of them. I wear them all the time. They're pretty much the only pair of shorts I'm rocking these days. And for listeners of this podcast, you can get 15% off of your entire purchase with the promo code VBShow. So head on over to WowieLife.com, grab yourself a pair of the Nomad 2.0s. Those are my personal favorite, and you will not regret it. Check them out, WowieLife.com. Now back to the show.
Alchemist changed my life. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that. Literally started on a Wednesday. And I was at Gonzalez Field in West Roxbury, or Norwood. But I sat out there. I got up 6 a.m., parked outside, finished it, tears down my face, because I knew it's time to pull the trigger. Knew it. Had my kids around me and everything. I was shaking and shit. All of it. I got it on camera. I set up a camera to document it. I lost the fucking memory card, but I have it, but scary. I was like sweating. Wrote it up, and I was shaking when I hit send, because I knew it was over. 13 years.
There was no going back.
No going back. Not the way. Not that I like cursed them out, but it was just very strong. And I've talked enough, and you're not gonna call my bluff. Like I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. But if you have a plan, I mean, that's what a plan is for. That's plain and simple. That's what a plan is for. So when you joked, you're like, oh, did you do a PowerPoint presentation to my wife? Kinda.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, so I just read The Alchemist.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's what he did.
But we were face to face in the pandemic, and I'm doing my job and she's doing her job, and I see her loving her job, and I'm looking at her like, you bitch. I I was legit jealous. And I remember one time her looking up and going, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And I go,
Just, you want to sit there and fucking enjoy your life.
And I'm just like, yeah, nah. If you want things to change, if you want a new situation, you got to change. And the more drastic you would like that change to be, that's how drastic your actions need to be.
So that's an interesting point. So, you know, someone like I'd like to think I'm pretty dedicated to my fitness, right?
And you look great.
Thank you. As do you. You look great.
Well,
you're so
I'm back on it.
No, you look great. Your energy exudes great.
There we go. I'm glowing.
You're glowing.
I'm
you
like
are glowing.
Rick James.
You're like Rick James, bitch. But so someone who I try to be as diligent and dedicated to fitness, right? Yeah. But you're human, right? And then where I get tied up, and I've had conversations with so many people, it's the wavering, right? You know what you need to do, right? But then there's the valid, I call them valid humanistic excuses. I just worked all day. I got to put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
I'm tired, right? This one's sick.
Yeah.
I can't wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you, as someone who is an entrepreneur, someone who is on the path towards the best version of yourself, do you allow yourself to live out those valid humanistic excuses, or do you, like you were just saying, like, I got to double down on the efforts to achieve the end result that I want?
Well, it's all on you now.
Sure.
Right? So it's like
I'm eating white rice for my sushi tonight. Like, I'm just going to have white rice and I'm going to let it be whatever the fuck it is. But there's the internal dialogue that says, well, you probably shouldn't have white rice.
This is who I am, right? And I'm going to tell a story and then we can talk about it later. So I don't really eat fish, right? I love the smell of fish. I'll eat it, right? But
that's the most bizarre. That's like the most bizarre. Most people don't.
No, the thing is for some reason, like, depending on what it is, and I don't know fish like that, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, I'm hugging the toilet. I'm throwing up my whole life, right? But depending on the situation, I might just take that risk. And I remember being in Detroit. Detroit has amazing food culture downtown. And I remember being at a soul food restaurant and someone walked by with like it was like fried fish. It was like catfish or something. And I was like, God, yeah, I gotta try it. It smelled so good. And I was like, I'm gonna take the risk. And it was amazing. It was banging. And I spent like 3 hours hugging the toilet. But I wanted that.
So it's like being lactose intolerant but eating ice cream.
Crazy. Tells you, you're nuts. I want this. So when you talk about like, it's all on me now, you mean I'm not getting a regular paycheck? I'm tired. The fuck? People, all day, people have been telling me how tired I look today.
You look great. They're fucking lying to you. You look great.
A friend of mine, I'm sitting at my, I went to an open house for my kid, and I'm sitting next to like people I know, and someone was like, "Oh, you look so tired." I'm like, "Fuck you, bitch." I feel amazing.
It was your wife, but
it was her best friend actually. But but I often run off like 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep. What really validated me, or I felt validated or felt confirmation, is listening to like Kevin Hart speak about his grind. And I was like, oh, I knew I wasn't crazy. I don't need at some point I'm going to need 8 hours, 9 hours, but to function, to drive. Oh, I can go like 2 hours of sleep and I'm running for like 2.5 days. Just because what I'm doing is everything I always wanted to do.
Well, that's the thing, right? So the energy, right? The energy when you're pouring it into something you're passionate about,
right? It's
like, yeah, if you're doing something you love and you're passionate about, there's no 40-hour work week.
Right. Turn it off.
Right. That's P and I were talking about that. Like, he's obviously a professional photographer, right? So he always has that lens on.
Yeah.
He always has that button snapping in his mind, right?
You're seeing it. It's
beautiful.
But for him, it's as easy as breathing.
Right.
Right. So what the fuck is work? I am not, when someone asks me, what do you do for a living? I live. Somebody might work. I live. And I found,
is that an actual answer you give people?
yes, now.
And what is their rebuttal? Because that's a very interesting. Because my mind's like people at work, right? How you doing? Oh, living the dream. My response always is, as long as it's yours.
Right.
And then they're always like, well,
Right.
no. I'm like, well, then you got to figure out what your dream is and go pursue it.
Right.
Right. But so often we squeeze living into life, right?
Yeah.
We wedge 2-3 days, 2-3 hours of living into your actual life.
Yeah.
And to have that answer of, I live.
I
What do you do for a living? I live. What better answer could you give?
I don't.
What else are you supposed to be doing?
It's such an answer just cuts through the bullshit, doesn't it? I'm talking to your soul.
Right.
I'm not going to act like you don't know. I know you know, because I didn't always live like this.
Because, motherfucker, you're not living, and you know what that means.
That was my daily. Watching people do things, and I'm like, damn, like, all right.
Right.
You repeating the bullshit like I matter.
Right.
Yo, when dad lost his job after 23 years, when he was about to get his pension, and it's like, yo, they don't give a fuck about you. And I started to feel this shift in culture. There's like, yo, there's no one sipping the Kool-Aid. There's no Kool-Aid anymore. There's no loyalty to the employee. This fucking world is getting greedy as shit. I am a number. Oh, we playing this game? All right, there's no loyalty. Yeah, I'm here. You're playing games with me. Like I'm over here training somebody for the job that I want. You won't give me, but I'm good enough to train this person. Oh, you're fucking with me. Mm. And then the moment I say, all right, I'm out because I created another situation through a relationship, now you're saying, no. Hey, we found the money. We can, you fucked me one time.
Right.
And I got it. I got it. You know.
Let's go back to your dad thing real quick.
Yeah.
Was that something that he was aware of prior to going in? Like, was this something that was preached in your household of like the awareness of just the self-awareness? Was this something that was kind of,
no. It was get the grades, get the good job, secure your family. Like, you know what I mean? There was like no other path. Even as I talk to him now, he goes, you amaze me because there's things you're doing. I didn't teach you that. Like he taught me like respect, like, you know, your word, like, you know, things like that, how to move person to person, like you shake a man's hand, look him in the eyes, you know, like
we hugged.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't teach me that. He wasn't a hugger. No. Right. But those are the basics. And he used to just say, if you get this down, then you can just, you know, move how you want. But for a kid to understand, it's like, you know, it takes a while. But then when I left for college, they said, don't come back. I said, holy shit, what did he say?
What was the information? Sorry. Information. Key, what was that? What did you just?
Right. And you know, they told me like struggle builds character. And it was nothing short of true. Bumming it on couches sometimes, slept in my car a few times. You learn how this shit works. The things that people fear, does it even feel that bad? Not when you're 20, 21, 22, got my whole world ahead of me, right? And it was just like, you know, I did that. I went and got the job and, you know, you fight and try to build up your career, and it's like someone's giving you fucking points and you get to the next level, and it's like, it's gamification of my life. I don't like it. And there's only so many times you could feel that and then look yourself in the fucking mirror. I can't do that. Honey, we're pregnant. Now I got to look at my kid with that. Not happening. I'm out.
Yeah, the kid thing is wild. Being a father, well, it's the one thing I say I'm great at. I'm a great dad. Right. I don't even like father, because father's like father, right? Like I'm a dad. Father. I'm a dad. And it's the one thing I will stand by and say I'm great at it, you know, and I know you are too. I could just, you know, I know you as a person, and I see the way you interact with your kids. I just know you, and it really does give you this extreme sense of responsibility, but it also gives this extreme sense of liberation, right? Because I remember, I've told this before, but I remember the first time my daughter realized ants. We were outside walking. I still have the stick that she picked up that day. And she looked at me and was like, what the fuck are these? Like there's a whole fucking trail of them, right? Yeah. And she's looked at me like, what? Like, what in the world? Yeah. The wonder. And I was like, and you take an ant for granted, right? It's just fucking ants. They're in my house. Kill those motherfucking things. But the wonder in her eyes and like the purity of it, I was like one of those moments that on my deathbed, it will be part of the PowerPoint presentation, right? That I'll remember her look of just pure wonder. Yeah. And again, going back to the previous point, we lose that. We lose that through jobs. And, you know, as great as your parents may be, and as great as my parents are, they came from a time that wasn't taught. Like I've reversed engineered a lot of people in my life of how they were able to show up to be the best version of themselves. And I remember like having conversations with my parents and expressing, you know, money's just a man-made construct, man. You know what I mean? And my parents like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking? Like, you know, like, and it is, but it's also freedom. Right. Yeah. You need to have it. Yeah. It's one of the most important tools that you could have in your toolbox. Yeah. Right. So when you're beating that drum of like, no, man, time doesn't exist. It's like, okay, get a clock and figure it the fuck out. Yeah. Right. And that's a wave you could ride. But they didn't come up because, again, reverse engineering their lives. Right. Their parents came up in at least my particular case, they came up in the Depression. Yeah. So you didn't have time to you know, thinking's a rich man's problem. Right. Right. They didn't have the luxuries to pontificate and philosophize life. Right. It's like, we're starving. We need bread. We got to figure this shit out. Yeah. And that lends itself to the entrepreneurial spirit, which is important, but you also have to be able to flow into the ethereal and be able to ride that wave for a little bit, because that then allows you to go back and be balanced, so to speak, and be more harmonious.
I ask you to understand. I understand both sides. I understand this balance. I understand what you need. I understand your mindset. You know, no, 100%. The reverse engineering of the people in your life, especially your parents,
so wild.
And I just, you know, I pray.
Have you done that? Dumb question.
I was like, oh man, Vinny got it. And it's like, so it's like, I see you and it's like, I understand you see the world the way I see the world. Sure. Right. And it's like, okay, great job, guys. I praise my parents all the time. But going forward, it's like, you got to pick the ball up and go. But you said it. It's like, you know, those eras, like the Great Depression, you had no fucking time to think. You weren't afforded that. God damn it, we need bread. Like the baby needs this and this, and ain't nothing more pressure. There's no greater pressure I've ever felt in my life than like a newborn crying endlessly, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yo, it breaks you. It breaks you.
I'm gonna share this with you. Yeah. When that kid's crying, you could understand how people break. Yeah. You could understand when you're sleep deprived and they're what? And you're just like, oh my. There have been times I gotta walk out of the room. Yeah. I gotta walk out.
I gave up weed. I went right back to the shit. I was like, yeah. And I love my wife because she was like, are you sure you want to do this?
Weed or the baby?
Right. But by the time like you and Earl had kids, I was gone. Like I wasn't around. This was my first baby experience, child experience. Like, sure. So this is new. Like my wife clowns me all the time. It's like, we came home from the hospital. We're laying in the bed and I'm like, good night. And then the baby starts crying and my son starts crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, you know, like turn it off. Fix that. I had this warped idea of what parenting was, and I literally learned as I went. There's no book. There's no nothing. It's life. What generation are we on this earth?
Right.
I'm not special. Just do your fucking part. Just make sure this kid has days to live and don't kill it, right? Because you definitely like, wah, wah, wah. If you never yelled shut the fuck up before, it's like you're saying it. You're saying, yes, I'm letting it fly. And it's like, it's easy for people to recognize those ugly thoughts and tuck that shit. Because it's never talked about. Yet once I started talking about it,
everyone's like, oh, yeah, I want to beat my kids too. Right.
So in life, I move like that. Once I understood that there's this underlying thing that we all know, whether you want to talk about it or not, or you're ready or you feel safe, I know you know. That's the only part of you I'm talking to. The one like, yo, I know it's basic. All this other shit, like, I don't care. I like holiday photos on social media. I cringe. Because even our photos, people go, oh, it looks so perfect. I'm like, yo, I was yelling, shut the fuck up right before this shit went on. Could you stay still? Like,
look at your look, just look.
I'm like, I'll take you to Chili's. Just smile. Just fucking smile. And it's like, yo, man, it's like, yo, come on, bro.
Yeah.
It's what, life is way too hard to hold on to that other shit. Let go. You'll move so much faster. You'll come across so many people that it's like, bro, I should have jumped a long time ago. Just change your surroundings, change your conversation, be intentful about that. And, I'm not even just talking about business, just life. You owe it to yourself. That's the version I want my kids to see. Now, on the flip side, not talking, but my wife ain't there yet, right?
Right.
So she's still tied to the construct, time. And I'm like, yo,
time is a man-made construct.
There are no roads. Did you turn on the GPS? There are no roads. We're going. It's like, it causes friction in my own household.
Sure.
Because I'm watching somebody hold on to things that I used to hold on to. And I'm like, she's not even asking why I'm so fucking happy these days. Like, come on now. Come to the light. Come to the light. There's value. If someone's paying you XYZ for your time, what could you generate if you had it? Because they're taking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only so many times you could just be like, that's not right.
Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? That's the old saying, and it becomes frustrating with any version of that. And again, as a parent, you feel compelled to lead the horse to water and have them drink, right? Yeah. And drink enough so that they're hydrated, right? Like you want to make sure that you're doing a great job of that. But there's this great poem, I don't remember it, but the essence of the poem is like, you are an archer and your children are the arrows. And they are not meant to stay in your quiver. You're meant to pull them back and let them go on their own trajectory towards a target that they adhere to.
Right.
And I think for women especially, that's a really tough. They have a different relationship with a child. You were ready to turn the baby off with the power button.
Right.
And she was like, no, that's not how this works.
Right.
So there is an internal narrative and relationship and, energy that like, Here's what I think a big part of it is, and this could be kind of construed as being sexist or whatever. Men come into this world, man search for meaning, Viktor Frankl, right? What is the meaning for man, right? Women, for some, they have the most important fucking meaning ever.
Yeah.
And that's to create more people.
Yeah.
Right? That's if that's not meaning to keep the species alive, I don't know what meaning is. Right. That now, yes, they could have their own external meaning. Absolutely. But genetically, women are born with meaning and purpose. May not be all their purpose, may not be their only purpose, but they have
in there, Vinny.
100%. But we have to search for meaning. And the meaning that we give life is what we create. We create meaning out of our own lives. Right. So it may be your family, it might be your children, it might be your job, it might be your entrepreneurial endeavors, whatever it may be. We need to create and find and search for meaning. Women are given meaning.
Mm.
And I think that that's a really tough thing for each person to understand, because there are many men who live quiet lives of desperation, who are seeking that next thing, who are looking for, the entrepreneurial ship and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. But now they have to navigate.
Yeah.
Right. And that becomes really choppy waters.
Yeah.
And there is an understanding and communication, all those things have to go into play.
Yeah. Facts. Okay.
That's just me.
No, I subscribe.
All right.
Submit.
All right.
I want my weekly emails, Vinny.
Click your notification button.
Unsubscribe. But yeah, and it's wild because you run around in your 20s and you're like, I can't even fathom being a father and a husband. And then you get there and you're like, I can't even remember life before you. My kids are 3 and 6, and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing 7 years ago?
Right.
And it's like, to your point, it's like, your kids give you purpose, where everyone's searching around trying to be important immediately. You're their world.
Mm.
And I quickly got over those angry moments when I humbled myself. I'm just like, oh my God, this kid started from zero, zero.
Right.
Understands nothing about anything I'm trying to explain. I'm yelling. It doesn't know what I'm talking about or can't even fathom a shred of what has brought me here. And it has nothing to do with them, right? And it's like, oh my God, give yourself grace. Give this kid a fucking break. And a lot of times parents, I'm not telling you parent how you parent, but it's like, you got to find a balance. It can't just be like you. This kid has to be in a place where it can blossom into wherever it's meant to be. You lead the horse to water. You show it what water does. You explain over and over again. It's the patience of it. At no point do you take the fucking horse's neck and go, drink this shit. It's not force. But sometimes just, do your day. It's like, just take your day out. And it's like, yo, that's not fair. How many parents apologize to their kids for their fucking anger? That has nothing to do with the kid.
I do it all the time.
And then I apologize
all the time.
The other day, it takes 4 minutes to get from my son's school to my daughter's daycare. And 2 minutes into it, he's like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, I gotta pee. In my mind, you're only jumping up and your ass is out to sea. It's because, you gotta pee right now. We're in the middle of Boston. We're in traffic. There's people around. You can't get out and piss, bro. What the fuck? Why? And I immediately start going off. Come on. Fucking, I throw a bottle, piss in a bottle. Piss in my car. God damn it. I'm yelling and I'm so mad. And I go get Nene and I put her in the car and I call my wife and I'm like, you ain't gonna believe it. He pissed all over my car and I'm ranting for 5 minutes. And she's like, all right, we'll deal with it. And when I gave her a chance to respond and it was this brief moment of silence, he whispers, I didn't pee. And I go, what? I didn't. I'm holding it. And I go, why the fuck? I immediately, oh my God, I was like, why did you let me go that far? And he's just staring at me innocently. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why did you let me just yell and go off? He was like, well, I just didn't. I just figured you'd see that picture. And if he did, is it the end of the world? Do I not have fucking laundry at home? Am I really about to destroy this kid's sense of whatever because I'm angry? And it had nothing to do with him. How many times he peed in the bed and just do the fucking laundry and it's like, but why did I spaz on him like that? And I had to check myself, and I had no problem. Yo, I'm sorry I yelled at you. That wasn't even your fault. It wasn't my fault. No, it wasn't.
Let me pee in the car now.
You did good. Right. Let me piss on something. But I was just like, we didn't have that growing up. The man, I love him to death, but I'm sorry, ain't never fucking coming out your mouth. But reverse engineering, I am going to talk to my kids. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to let them know that let my son know being a man is about accepting when you did something wrong, and it has no boundaries as far as age or anything like that. Wrong is wrong, right is right, right? And and I caught him sometimes, he's scared to say like, I'm sorry, or he feels shame or something. Said, hey, didn't I just tell you I was sorry? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm empowering him to be a better person, but I have to show it. You can't yell at a kid, be patient. You got to show patience.
Right.
I've discovered there's adults that need that same type of.
Well, they're just children.
Big children.
Big children. They're just children in adult bodies. There's a lot of them. There is. And I'm also in charge of morning routine and getting the kids out of the house.
Yep.
And that is, if I check my Whoop, the stress in that time frame is like, bang, like hitting the ceiling, because it's getting two kids dressed, getting two kids ready, getting myself ready, getting breakfast, packing lunch, getting them out the door on time, one school, who wants to get dropped off first, who doesn't want to go to school first, who's taking me, who doesn't want to put on the side. And so many, there have been many a morning where I am the worst version of me, right? And I could just be like, right? But it does come to a point where it's never about them.
It's never. Yeah.
And if you really stop in that moment, it's like, oh, this is you. Yeah. Like, had you done the thing, or or if you were more prepared, right? If you had adhered to the conversation you had yesterday with yourself about how today's going to be a better day because I'm going to wake up earlier and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. If you adhered to that, then you wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
But you also have to give yourself that grace, because when I had that and applied that energy to CrossFit, when I'd miss a class and beat the shit out of myself, you fucking lazy piece of shit. Yeah. You laid in bed today at 5:30. Yeah. How dare you? Yeah. Right? That's not healthy either. So you have to find, again, that balance, which I really don't believe in balance, but that harmonious relationship with your emotional states, and be okay with saying, I'm sorry. Like my son, it's a joke in the house, but he used to put himself in timeouts. Like, I'm going to timeout. I'm like, this defeats the fucking purpose of timeout, right? And we don't even put him in timeout, or I don't put him in timeout. My wife doesn't put him in timeout. But there have been people around like, okay, you need to kind of like, and he goes, Daddy doesn't put me in timeouts. We talk about our feelings. And I'm like, well, fuck. Because timeout is just, go sit there quietly.
Right.
What are you accomplishing with that? What are you accomplishing with that?
Without the information to understand why you're even in timeout. Right.
So I'd rather create an atmosphere where, we don't do timeouts.
Right.
We reflect.
Yeah.
We're mindful of what we did.
Right.
We talk about it so we can learn from it. But to throw a kid aimlessly into a room, think about what you did.
Right.
What is that accomplishing?
My parenting skills benefited from the fact that in my previous work, I learned about mindfulness. And I bring that to my parenting every day. I bring it to my life every day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And, and you have to be the example for kids. They have to see it. And they always refer back to what you did. Oh, like when you did this? Oh yeah. Good or bad? Like when you did this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. So, yeah. And then you got to be real about yourself. Where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never about them.
Never. They're so innocent.
Yeah, and that's like a thing. Like, be like, oh, kids are manipulative. I'm like, no, they're not.
Innocent.
They don't even know how to be manipulative. All they want at the end of the day, I think this is a beautiful way to kind of, because we have to catch sushi, but so you can get the EpiPen. All they want, I think what all people want, it goes back to that Dale Carnegie, is to be seen. And what is being seen is to be unconditionally loved.
Right.
And when you reverse engineer it, that is what so many people, whether it be an entrepreneur, a father, a child, whomever, that's what so many people are missing in their lives, is true unconditional love, especially as men. And there's that Chris Rock bit, right? That everything we do is conditional, right? Our love is conditional. How we show up in the world is conditional. So when you meet other like-minded individuals, or you could speak on someone's soul level, the conditions go out the window.
Yeah.
When you could connect with someone, all that shit, all that bullshit goes out the window. And when God recognizes God, it becomes a very transparent, fluid dynamic. And that's what we have.
Yeah, man.
That's what we have. I'm so honored and blessed that 20 years ago, for whatever reason, the gods put us in alignment with each other. The universe, the force, put us on a connective tissue. And 20 years later, 2 conversations, we're here. And it's such a blessing and honor to have you here, man.
Right.
I'm so elevated.
Yeah. Thank you. More, and that's not even like just thank you, man.
Yeah.
I'd come down for this energy. You gave me exactly what I thought I'd get.
And you gave me exactly what I thought I'd get.
Yeah,
and there was I literally have your name.
Yeah.
That's the only note I have.
I saw that. I was like, what?
I was going to forget who you were.
Right. I was like, hey, whatever works.
Right.
Whatever works.
But that's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
How full circle play. All I needed to know was Alan Eversley.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's grab some sushi. So good to see you, my man.
Yeah.
Where can people connect with you if they want to find out more? All that.
No.
Perfect. It would be very, I have to ask the question.
Yeah.
Because I always want people to feel like they could speak their piece.
Yeah. Yo, just do better.
That's it.
Do better.